How's it going, y'all? We're back with another one. This time I wanted to do something a little different. Like, when I first got started out, like, my digital art journey, most of the stuff I learned was through YouTube, like trying to figure out how to work Clip Studio and Procreate. I figured I'd try my hand, at least a little bit, and showing what goes into the process, like some tutorials here and there. But this one is just breaking down how I study reference and get essentially these pieces started. For starters, most of the reference I pulled from here today, I get from the TrueRef Plus. I feel like you can look them up and they're pretty easy to find. They offer like affordable reference packs. Sometimes they drop free ones every now and then on Blue Sky or Twitter if you have that. But I mostly just use them to get myself started when I don't have an idea in my head. But the way I go about studying references and how it was taught to me was you start from general to specific. Like, you just get the pose down first with basic shapes, and then by the time you feel like you can add more to it, give a little bit more detail, that's when you're allowed to zoom in. But until then, you zoom out and just keep it basic. Now with these sketches here, they're mostly just like basic warm-ups, not too much into it, at least until I get to the end. But it's mostly just practice runs to see how far I'm gonna take it, a little bit of challenge on my end. And if there's one thing for certain, it's like, even when you have a pose, sometimes the best thing to do is not to mostly stay on target, but you might want to exaggerate the pose a little bit, especially to fit inside your skill house. Like, make it a little curvy, make it to the side, push a little bit until you have one that you are satisfied with. That's essentially what I did with this one right here, with the pose really not going the way I wanted to, in the sense of perspective and angles, but it's all a part of the journey. You just go about it, push it best you can, and then move on. If you really wanted to take it further, you can spend more time on it, but these are like a few minute sketches in between. And I think out of all the poses here, this might have been one of my favorite ones, if not the most favorite I've had. I might revisit it later. It's just something about the overall gesture of it. Like, I think I was able to get the hands done rather quickly and just nail it. As far as like everything else, it's either hit or miss. But something that I find helps me when it's doing these base models is like having cylinders to circle the motions around the limbs and the body and the torso, just to give it a little bit of sense of depth and volume, so you know where everything is when you go in to pull it together. And as you see here, once I felt like comfortable enough with the pose, I decided to add a little bit of flair to it, essentially making it one of my OCs, Corey. And just little thick shading here and there, but not coloring. Don't want to commit to it without being certain about it. These still just essentially warm-ups for the final pose. This one right here, at first I wasn't too sold on that. I didn't know if that was in my bag or not. I just had to take a gamble on it. Still doing what I mentioned earlier, exaggerating the pose, seeing what works and what doesn't, trying to fit it into my style while also making it make sense. Overall, I think I didn't do too bad with this one. If I were to spend more time on it, it'd probably look a little different, but for a top-down perspective, I'm happy with it. And that's just usually how it goes. I was debating on whether I wanted to push that pose or not, but I decided to save myself a headache and move on to the next and final one. Being this one in particular. Now with this one, as I kept pushing it, as you can see, I figured this would probably be the one I ink in the future for the next video. In the next video, we're going over inks and how to like make them feel alive, if you know what I'm talking about. Essentially give it a little bit of that flavor and push the sketch along without losing the energy and flow you have in the original piece. It's like when I saw this pose, I knew I had to make a scene around it. And essentially, would it be like another fan art piece or one of my characters? I chose to leave it as one of my characters, but there's still some finagling to do on my end before I'm ready to move to the inks. It's a matter of push and pull and what the overall piece will be when it finally comes down to it. And for those wondering, I use Kohl's the hairless cat brushes, at least for the sketching and sometimes inking. If, for those wondering, you can get it for like $5 on their Gumroad. It just needed something a little bit with a little bit of texture. It's essentially the same way I do in Procreate, but for Clip Studio, and so far it hasn't let me down yet. Right now I'm just adding a little bit of depth, essentially for me to figure out later, but we're nearing the end of this one. If you want to see where we're taking this next week, be sure to follow and stay tuned for more as we go over inking and the styles that come with it. Remember, stay rotten.